Well, good morning. Wanted to give you the morning update of where we are with the storms. So the evacuations with Charleston and Beaufort County are continuing and seem to be going well. But before we talk about any other evacuations, I want to turn it over to John Quagliarello and let him speak in terms of what we saw this morning, what we discussed this morning with our team, and where we see this storm going. So John?
Thank you, Governor. Hurricane Matthew is forecast to strengthen tonight into a Category 4 hurricane as it approaches the east coast of Florida. Eventually, Matthew will make a turn toward the north and gradually weaken, but is expected to pass very near or just off the South Carolina coast late Friday night and during the day Saturday. At this point, it looks like Matthew will be very close to the coast as it moves up through the Charleston area, and then at some point make a really sharp turn to the right as it approaches the upper coast of South Carolina. I do want to point out, when you look at the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center, don't focus on just connecting the dots between the points there. The storm is going to make a much closer approach to the South Carolina coast than this map depicts, and then make a sharp turn to the right as it nears the Myrtle Beach area. We are feeling fairly confident in that track at this point. There are hurricane watches currently in effect up through Charleston County, and also prototype storm surge watches up through Charleston County, and those watches will likely be expanded later today with the possibility of warnings being issued as well. In terms of impacts, we expect conditions to really start deteriorating Friday night and be at their worst through the day Saturday into Saturday night. In terms of the actual impacts, for winds, we're expecting gusts at or above hurricane force, possible mainly along the coast. Tropical storm force winds could extend much farther inland and possibly persist for up to 18 to 24 hours. Extensive tree damage and significant power outages are very possible with any areas that experience hurricane force winds. In terms of storm surge, the lower South Carolina coast seems to be most at threat right at this point, but everyone along the coast should be prepared for some storm surge. Worst case scenario appears to be 4 to 8 feet of storm surge inundation, so that's the height of the water above ground. And of course, it's going to be worse if the storm tracks right along or just inland of the coast. I want to point out that the storm surge threat isn't limited to those people living right along the immediate coast. The storm surge threat extends well inland in some areas. You look down the Beaufort area, we have quite a bit of concern down there that people don't realize how far inland that storm surge threat actually exists. So you don't have to be living right at the coast to need to evacuate, because the water can reach you. If you want more information on the storm surge graphic to see if you're at risk, just go to the Hurricane Center website at hurricanes.gov. And the other threat we're concerned about is the threat for heavy rainfall. Currently, the forecast is calling for 8 to 14 inches of rain with locally higher amounts, as you'll see on this map here. It's a considerable amount of rainfall, and with that we'll have flash flooding. Many roads will become impassable, and you might actually lose access to some communities, so please be prepared for that. So overall, the National Weather Service asks residents to take this storm very seriously and to follow the advice of local emergency management. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. So with that, we want to continue to urge anyone in Charleston or Beaufort counties, they should already be evacuating. We want that to happen. We are going to go ahead, and if we could put the sketch up of, we're going to be evacuating portions of Horry and Georgetown County. You will see there the sections in red that he's going to show you at Zone A. Well, actually, it's in pink on this. So those will be, that evacuation will start at noon, is when we want to plan on doing that. As you heard, John, the big concerns that we have are storm surges are going to go much further inland than people realize, and that's a lot of water all at once. The winds are going to be incredibly high, and then the rain is what we're concerned about, that may give us something similar to what we had with the flood last year, when you're talking about 8 to 12 inches and getting into higher numbers past that. So we do want to be careful. We want everybody to take this seriously. We're doing this for a reason, and it's because we really do question John and his colleagues on what it looks like. We'll continue to look at this, and we're going to look at it again this afternoon. So having said that, we are coordinating with our sister states. Florida and Georgia have already declared portions of evacuations, and so we're just working with them on traffic and making sure that we're all talking together so that we're running with the same message. The I-26 Lane reversals ran beautifully, and I want to thank the National Guard, all law enforcement, Director Smith, Secretary Hall for doing a great job with that. Believe it or not, the average time to get from Charleston to Columbia now is 1 hour and 21 minutes. The average miles per hour is 70 miles an hour. So we actually want people to slow down a little bit. But that's a great problem to have, because people are moving through, and that lets everybody else that needs to evacuate know that this is the time to do that, because we will continue those lane reversals as long as we see the traffic moving, and then we will move that back accordingly as we need to. As of 6 a.m. this morning, 175,000 people have evacuated. That's not enough. We need to have more people evacuating, and this is the part that I want you to think about. If you are still sitting at home, if you have not evacuated, gas stations are getting ready to close. Your pharmacies are getting ready to close. Everything is going to leave, because people have to protect their own families, so they're all gonna do that. So, number one, fuel up quickly. We know the Circle K gas stations are gonna start closing at noon, but everything else will close. So you will not have access to stores, gas stations, pharmacies, all of those things. So we really do need you to think about that. The gas stations will close down, so you will not be able to get the gas, and so that's something that we're very concerned about along the coastline, and especially in Charleston and Beaufort, that's gonna start happening today. I can't thank enough law enforcement and National Guard. You've seen them all along the checkpoints. We have 700 control points, and they literally are everywhere. But they're working long hours, and they're doing a lot of work. And so I hope that you'll remember them and our DOT maintenance crews as we go forward, and thank them as you come in contact with them. We have 100 buses positioned right now at the North Charleston Coliseum. So anyone that needs to evacuate, please do go ahead and start looking at loading those buses. We will bring them in to the upstate as we need to, and make sure that they get shelter as well. We have 38 shelters currently open as of 11 o'clock last night. We can have 50 additional at any given time, so whenever those start to fill up, we have more than enough room to do that. So far, 677 residents are living in shelters at this point. We do have one special needs shelter that is open, but we have 4 more available as needed also. 2 pet-friendly shelters are available in the Low Country, and so for those who are worried about their pets, we do have some pet-friendly shelters that are open, and I know that that makes a big difference, and those are in the Low Country. DHEC is in the process of transporting 150 patients from 2 nursing homes, and so that is continuing to go smoothly. Hotels, all of the hotels across the state, not including the coast, are pretty much full. I think we have a few rooms left in Anderson, but your best bet now is Charlotte. They have a few rooms left too. So again, Expedia, Airbnb, whatever you need to do, that's your best bet to make sure you're not wasting your time trying to find a place. But we think there were 20 plus rooms maybe in Anderson, and then not much more than that in Charlotte. So you do want to make sure you take care of that. Other than that, I will tell you that our number one goal has and will always be to make sure we keep everyone safe. Everything that we're hearing about the storm is one that we're watching closely. It is going to hug the coastline, but it is also going to go further in. And I think everybody related to that during the 1,000-year flood, when they saw how far the water did actually go in. That's what we want you to worry about with the storm surges, because that water above land is the big concern there, and then along with the winds as well. So with that, I think